All right, I hope you got your seatbelt strapped on because this market is exciting. I'm going to start with this Bitfinex story. It's a big one, but I have a lot to talk about. The roller coaster, it's exciting. Let me just go through my agenda first. We'll talk about Bitfinex. We're going to talk about Bitcoin. We're going to talk about Ethereum, DeFi, decentralized finance boom that is happening. Stellar, got some good news looking there. Binance just keeps going straight up. What's happening there? We're going to talk a little bit about the gaming phenomena that's also blowing up. And the bottom is in, isn't it? Well, we'll talk about Bitfinex. There's a chance who takes out the bottom, but I'm still holding my belief that the bottom is in. Charlie Lee Litecoin, it's silly. The project, we'll talk about it. My portfolio recommendations, and then I'm going on a little off topic. Yeah, we got a lot here. It's going to be a long video. I got Tesla. I'm going to talk about Andrew Yang Gang. Come and join the Yang Gang. He's got a cryptocurrency, a digital asset regulation policy, and I'm going to talk about this Lambda school. So we got a lot. Watch this video in chunks. You try to watch it all at once. It's going to be a lot, but okay, let's start with Bitfinex. I'm going to try to sum it up for you here. Bottom line is this. Bitfinex has been using its dollar funding, using a company called Crypto Capital. See if I can find it. It's called Crypto Capital. I don't know where it is in this thing. And they have $850 million. Crypto Capital has $850 million of Bitfinex's, and they're not getting, and it hasn't come back. Bitfinex has used Tether to cover the whole $850 million. So the question is, where's the 850? There's a lot of, and nobody knows. But here's a couple. What the positive possibility is, it's being the government, wherever Crypto Capital is stationed, or some other governments have sort of seized it in order to investigate. The money's there, but they're just not sure what to do with it or give it back. That would be the best case scenario. Worst case scenario is Crypto Capital or a bunch of crooks and they stole it all. Now, the other possibility is, whether it's stolen or seized or whatever, how much does Bitfinex get back of the 850? If they get back, Bitfinex has like 200 million in reserves. And keep in mind, there's 3+ billion of Tether out there. Fractional reserve banking has existed for years where they only keep 10% on hand. In other words, they have 3 billion. They would only have, if it was a regulated bank, they may only keep, 300 million in capital to back it, right? So, and that would be legal. I don't know exactly it would be legal. Bottom line is this. If they get back half the money or most of the 850, they're fine. They got plenty of money. Bitfinex makes money. It's big exchange. They have a couple $100 million in reserves. The customer money in general is still there for tokens or whatever. It's just the Tether backing, 850 out of 3 point whatever billion, is missing. Or Crypto Capital may have it. So we got to see how much comes back. Now, and I don't think this is fraud from Tether, although, listen, who knows? I don't have the answers here. We don't know what's going on. And maybe we'll find out soon, maybe we won't. Bottom line is, how much of this 850 do they get back and when? The other question is there a run on Tether? So far, the market, let's look here. Tether's price. Okay, so let me let's look at a week here. It's been holding its dollar, and then it was holding steady yesterday. I noticed. I thought I was almost surprised, but then I guess people got nervous. Went down to 98 cents. Is at 99. The market is not pricing in 850 million being stolen. Now that either means you have a chance to get out if it is stolen, or it just means it's more fucking, it's been 3 years of everybody assuming Tether is in Bitfinex, it's a scam and all this, and it never has turned out to be. I don't know why anyone keeps their money in an exchange for more than an hour, or why, although if you're not in the US and you need dollars, I can understand wanting to hold a dollar peg token, but there's hundreds out there. At least diversify, right? If you really want to be in dollar peg tokens, or you need to be, well, you've got DAI, you've got hundreds of others. Why would you just let it all sit in this Tether? I don't know. What else do I want to say here? If I had to make a bet, it's not all gone. But who knows? Now, another thing, Caitlin Long here says, Caitlin Long, for those who don't follow, she's great to follow with well, she's great to follow. She's leading the charge of getting the regulations in Wyoming. But on this topic here, there was a quote. She's just comparing, what's the difference between a regulated bank and an unregulated bank? Well, the regulated bank is allowed to steal money. Or they're allowed to use customers' money. Fractional reserve banking is legal. And she talks about here how Merrill basically had a problem. They used customer funds to cover it up. They fixed the problem and it was all fine. And there was none of, that's just business as usual. That's how banking works. But Bitfinex is not regulated, so they're not allowed to use the customer funds. And another point, this New York Attorney General sort of doing this, as she calls it, the gotcha, news release. Is that the best way to go about it? Possibly creating panic and this and that. I don't know. And there was never any mentions when it was Merrill Lynch doing the same thing. So, let's keep it in perspective. Now, I'm not saying just because they let Merrill Lynch do it, that means it's right either. But also, we're not sure that Bitfinex did anything wrong other than getting swindled, because it's been hard for them to get bank accounts, and maybe they went with this crypto capital, and in hindsight they're like, oops. Or maybe it's not even crypto capital's fine, but their government. So anyways, I don't want to repeat myself here. And so that's it for Bitfinex. All right. If you got questions, point below, but it's still an open question. Now let's talk next. Let's go to Bitcoin. Let's look at transactions per day, just in general here. So Bitcoin, look at this. Since January 2018, since over a year, or let's say that started, well, what here is in April of last year. So at least a year of Bitcoin transactions going up in a nice, pretty steady line. That's a good sign. That's been now, like I said, a whole year of that relatively consistent. This was something I remember reading about why these numbers got whacked out for a few weeks. It was some weird way. I don't know. But anyways, it looks like the trend is continuing, though we'll see. But that's good news. And Ethereum sort of has a similar transaction sort of thing, but only since this year. Only like 4 months of having a nice trend up. But keep in mind, so much of what's happening with Ethereum is on second layer transactions, which are not on the main chain. This is only counting the main chain. And is transactions all we want to see? For Bitcoin, maybe it is. But for Ethereum, one transaction on MakerDao where someone locks up 2 million of Ether in order to borrow DAI, dollar peg token, that's one transaction. It's worth $2 million, and that it's not the number of transactions, it's the value of the transactions or the value of the things that are happening. But to stick to Bitcoin, let's see. I wanted to mention Abra. I thought I pulled up here. Oops. Let's get rid of this. So now, just to explain, first of all, so DeFi Pulse, this is showing how much token value is being locked up on platforms, Ethereum or Bitcoin, that's actually happening everywhere with staking. EOS 70. I just read. I think it's 75% of EOS tokens are staked on the network. So this locking up of tokens in order to create trust or allow things to happen or be used as collateral is a huge use case. And it's more important to me than transactions. Transactions is important. It depends what you're talking about. But this locking up of tokens in order to allow other things to happen, I think is very valuable. DeFi Pulse here is sort of tracking that. MakerDao is the elephant in the room. We're going to talk about that. By the way, when I said I'm talking about Ethereum, we're going to talk about most of these here. But regarding Bitcoin, the only locking up going on, we've got Lightning Network, which is locked up 5 million. And then you've got wrapped BTC, which is Bitcoin wrapped as an ERC20 token and staked on Ethereum. And that's almost at 1 million. So now one thing that's not listed here, which I think is a great story, is Abra. So Abra, what they do, you deposit Bitcoin, and they use that as collateral to allow you to receive the gains or losses from some other derivative. So for example, you deposit Bitcoin, and now you gain or lose exactly the price of Apple stock or the S&P 500 or whatever it is that they offer. They recently came out with that they're offering a lot of pegged. In a sense, it's similar. If you understand MakerDao, you lock up Ethereum to be allowed to have a token that tracks $1. Similarly, now Abra, you lock up Bitcoin to get, it's not really a token, but you get a credit in your app that tracks the value of a stock or another currency, the euro or whatever. And they offer a lot of things. So how much Bitcoin is Abra locking up? I don't know. We don't know. I wasn't able to find. If somebody knows, or you have a link for something, put it in the comments below. But that just shows too that this DeFi Pulse is not tracking everything. There's so much going on. I thought it was hard to keep up with this stuff a year ago. Now it's like ridiculous. I mean, things are launching and moving so quickly. Not only that, but you got things like Uniswap here growing like crazy, and then all of a sudden, I thought I read growth slowed, but then all of a sudden it jumped again. I mean, it's like, who's going to win? And we'll get into these in a minute, but yeah, boy, is it hard to keep track of everything that's happening. Anyway, so that's what's being locked up on Bitcoin. Now, let me Bitcoin dominance, here in January, where I was saying, oh, the bull's over, get out of I'm sorry. No. This is 18. This is when the rally, the 18 mania, on the way up, the other coins, Bitcoin lost a lot of its market share. But in 2018, when the bear ended, I said, now it's time to get back into Bitcoin, and it regained a lot. And I thought it was going to go higher. I did think we were going to get up to, maybe 60, 70%. And now I'm sort of like, I don't know, this may be it. I mean, and if the bull starts running hard, I think Bitcoin does fine. I always have to push it. My biggest, when we get to portfolio, still saying Bitcoin 40% of your portfolio, at least. And the other thing to remember with Bitcoin here is, Fidelity. Like, if you're a big institution and you want to put in a lot of money, the only place to go really is Bitcoin. I mean, you can dabble in the hedge funds and you can buy all this other stuff that's out there, but it's just not regulated enough for for a pension fund. Like, they sort of need. I mean, I guess pension funds have been doing, they give it to a fund who then buys lots of little things. But the pipes for real big money, New York Stock Exchange and Fidelity, is really only for Bitcoin right now. So in a bull run and people start wanting to throw a lot of money in, a lot of it has to go to Bitcoin. So I think Bitcoin's fine, but honestly, I don't love it. I got to tell you, when we see here, again, like with this, look at everything's Ethereum here. The decentralized finance applications are all being built on Ethereum. And even, Bitcoin, one of its use cases is because it's on Ethereum here. I wouldn't be surprised if wrapped Bitcoin on Ethereum has more staked than Bitcoin on Lightning Network. We'll see. But, sorry, what was I getting at? Oh, I really, one of the things, so it's a decentralized system like Bitcoin's truly decentralized, right? I mean, Ethereum is too, but Bitcoin, more than any, the founders got, but one of the problems is there's no leader. Now, on one, people say, oh, well, if there's a leader, it's centralized. Like, oh, Vitalik, what if he was gone? If Vitalik was killed and no longer, God forbid, no longer there to help lead Ethereum, Ethereum would continue, right? And he doesn't, there's a difference between leading and people voluntarily decide to follow and being a leader who forces people to follow. A centralized organization can force things to happen. A great leader gets people to follow in a decentralized system. Bitcoin doesn't really have a leader, and it doesn't have anybody I love. When I was thinking about, all the companies, all the my investments, right? I've got Ethereum, where I love Vitalik and several people in Ethereum, great leaders that I feel like are geniuses and are leading this thing in the right direction. I've talked about Stellar, where we've got Jed McCaleb, great leader, and IBM is a company that, you may not think they're lighting the world on fire, but you can trust them. That's somebody who's leading direction. Binance, CZ, I love him. Usually when I invest, like there's somebody or people or something that I love and think is great. Who in the Bitcoin community, I had a bit of a man crush on, what's his name, Safadine Amos. This whole, the economics of hard money and all this, I love it, super interesting, and I agree with a lot of it. But is that who's leading Bitcoin? Economists? If it is, I'm concerned, because it's a technology. And a lot of the tech people, they're a little, with the whole Bitcoin maximalism and let's only eat meat, it gets a little kooky, and I'm concerned that I just don't like that. And Bitcoin might be fine technologically even without a leader, I don't know, but that doesn't fit into how things work. So that concerns me about Bitcoin. Which reminds me, I wanted to show one other link. Let's just put it in here. I'm not sure where it is. Oh, shoot. What happened to my... Wait, that's not it. Oh, I got the wrong... Let's do this again. And someone criticized me. Oh, your links aren't ready, and you're not... Listen. I'm just trying to share all my information with you. I don't do this to make money. I do it to share, and it's fun. I don't have an editing team here. Take it or leave it. People get mad at me because I'm not. The sound isn't perfect, or the production quality. But anyways, here's what I wanted to show you. So this is, derivative 693 trillion, which is what decentralized finance is sort of going after, right? Debt, which, I'm going to show you this. Where's that link? Here I go with my slow links. But anyways, there's debt, real estate, 70 trillion, equities, 60 trillion, gold, 7 trillion. Bitcoin wants to be digital gold. Well, watch out what you wish for. This is going to be Bitcoin. So I just left that Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin at, let's say, 52% of the market right now. Well, right, if it's only going to be gold, they're only trying to be, I don't know what percent, and if this is the right chart to compare to or whatever. But gold is not, now granted, Bitcoin as gold is a better gold than gold, right? And so maybe if Bitcoin is gold and central banks have problems, gold regains some of its former glory as Bitcoin, and this chart where gold is a tiny bit is a lot bigger. But still, there's so much in finance and the financial system beyond just being gold. And even I would love to see here, or global debt. Does this? So I would like to see, so US Treasury bonds is sort of the foundation of the financial system now. What percentage is that? Because in a sense, maybe that's what Bitcoin is going for. But even by Bitcoin's goal, I don't see how they can maintain their maximalist view that it's going to be the biggest thing ever, because it's just trying to be the base layer gold, which it's exciting, but compared to Ethereum, let's talk about Ethereum. And in order to talk about Ethereum, one of the things we got to talk about is all the stuff that's happening and launching on it. Ethereum, Ethereum and Bitcoin are the most trusted. If you need to lock up money and you want to know it's going to be there eventually, you trust Bitcoin and Ethereum. You may love EOS and you want to play games and gambling and all this stuff, but do you trust it for a 10-year lockup? I don't, and I don't think a lot of people would. So first let's talk about Maker. Boy, oh boy, Maker. Now I own Maker. I'm invested in this thing, but I tell you, a day doesn't go by where I don't worry that it's going to zero. I think this is the only investment I have where I'm constantly like, oh my God, is this thing even going to survive? Scares the hell out of me. But on the other hand, if it does, this is the elephant in the room. I mean, look at this thing. 320 million locked up. Next competitor is 32. It's 10x the next competitor. These things can change though, but it is the elephant in the room. But they're having trouble. Where was that link I just had? I was showing you this. They've been having trouble. So where are we here? So this is all, I don't know, this is a long-term chart, holding the peg, and they've been having trouble since, looks like, let's say here, March. I mean, as the bull started running, it started having some problems. Sorry, let's look at just recently here. Is this right? Why is it? It looks like it's over $1. Is it over $1 right now? No, this chart, something's wrong. I bet. Oh, I know it. Look at what I did. I dragged this. So let's go 3 months. So here it started having trouble holding the dollar, and look at it, it's been getting volatile. And MakerDao has raised interest rates from 0% to I think it's now 15% in a matter of weeks. I mean, I got so much to say on Maker. One of the problems is people stake their ether to get DAI, which they then use to buy more ether and then create more DAI. And there's just too much DAI out there. The problem is that the DAI token needs use cases. One of the use cases that I think would be great that they're coming out with is a DAI savings account that earns interest. So if Maker is charging 15% interest to create DAI, they could take 13% of that and pay you for holding DAI, which would be affect the demand side of the equation. So in other words, what they're doing here by raising interest rates, you can see the amount of DAI, the amount people borrow, is going down as the interest rate goes up. So they're reducing supply, but we're not doing anything to increase demand. And I think that's what we need. But that's and there's a lot of use cases, like companies are Augur is launching their new system, or I think it already launched. I don't know. At some point, Augur either is or will be doing where you can place bets and using DAI token. Because when you do, one problem with Augur has been, and they have many problems, but one of them is, you stake ether on a bet. Let's say you bet, football team's going to win, and you bet on an ether, and then you win, but ether went up or down by 30%. Your bet is affected more by the move of ether than by the thing you're betting on. So they're going to use DAI, a dollar peg token, for the betting. So that's a use case for DAI, and that's the demand side, and we need to see more of that. That stuff, they'll grow slowly over time. This savings rate could suck up a ton of money for 13% interest. Another thing is, with this high interest rate, there's also can be a lag. Like you could buy DAI, let's say at 98 cents or whatever it's at now, and then stake it on, I think, I don't know, Dharma or Compound, and they might pay you, it's like you get 10% interest. So you could use these to stake it. And I heard someone talking about this on a Maker, conference call, their governance call or whatever they call it. And someone's like, well, you can just buy it at 98 cents and stake it and earn interest. And then someone's like, well, if that's such a good idea, why aren't you doing it? And he's like, well, I don't know, you want to help me? Like, it's not that easy. And interest rates have only been super high for a few weeks. So it's possible, too, that there's a time that the interest rates are going to work better, but it's going to take time because people have to now set up systems where they're buying and then they're putting it on Compound, and where do they get the money for that? And there's all these things. So if the peg on Maker cannot hold, and which is the whole point of MakerDao, right? Is this dollar peg backed by collateral, and we have tons of collateral, and it doesn't hold. Let's just say worst case scenario, and the whole thing starts failing. People start dumping Tether. The market makers throwing the towel, and the did I say Tether? The peg, the DAI peg starts failing. MakerDao, 320 million staked, just goes on the market and sold. I mean, this thing would be a disaster if it collapses. Do I think it's going to collapse? I lose sleep over it. I mean, my thing is this: you don't want to hold too much of this Maker, but on the other hand, do you want to be in the leader? And are they going to make it? They probably make it through. These things usually work themselves out. It's always scary. The bull market climbs a wall of worry. So I'm not selling what I have, but I'm too scared to buy more. And I've got enough. I got a decent position here. But if you don't own any, and for those of you who like risk, I mean, I see people buying stupider things. And if you own Tether, and I don't want to talk shitty about Tether because I don't want it to dump, but there you own Tether, you're taking on risk for no possible gains, right? It's a dollar peg token. People take on risk and crazier risks than Maker. But if you want to get in it, the price, I mean, now is the time. I mean, if you look at the price of Maker, it's been, so this was, it's a year. Let's just see what all looks like. Yeah, I mean, this is the bubble peak. Let's just go a year. It's been from this really 300 being a low, but that is a 300 to 700. And we again were at the 700. We're all the way back down. If you want to get in on it, this is what you want the chart to look like, right? And so, what else? Do I want to say anything else about Maker? Another thing about Maker is, and I don't, they're trying to be sort of decentralized, but I mean, I hope I'm not boring the hell out of people going on about Maker for so long, but I think it's very important in that, so they want to be decentralized, but they're adjusting interest rates. They're going to have all these tools, whether it's the savings rate, which is coming later, how much collateral you need, and how much DAI you can borrow based on collateral. Right now it's just Ethereum, but eventually it's multi-collateral. How much of this other collateral do you need in order to borrow DAI? There's so many so many levers that they can pull: raising interest rates, lowering interest rates, raising interest on a savings. All these levers to be pulled in order to maintain the peg. Well, how is that decentralized? Well, they're trying to set up a thing where all the Maker holders vote, and that makes a decision. And I like the idea of this decentralizing, involving the community. It's all nice and sounds good, but at the end of the day, I love a leader who just fucking rock star, right? So the founder, I think he's the founder or one of the main original guys, Rune. Is he that genius? Is he gonna know? He has a feel for this stuff and pulls the right levers, and his feedback from everybody helps. But if Maker is trying to just eventually, just voting, it's gonna make this thing steer itself in the right direction, I worry about that. All of these voting systems, I'm super skeptical of. I understand with democracy, one person, one vote. That's okay with me, right? But when it comes to running a business, and because I ran a business for years, and I get always, when it's goal setting time, what are we doing next? Get ideas from everybody. Very important for many reasons, and I do that. But at the end of the day, you need an executive or a few who know how to pick the best ideas and get them done. If everything's done by committee, listen, you want to. So anyways, I'm just also the way Maker is run. I'm a little concerned. Is that a good way to run a business? But the bottom line I always come back to, and I learned this later in life, which is if you only invest in what you understand and what you believe in, you're going to miss a lot of stuff because the best ideas you don't understand until it's done, right? Google has no profits. Amazon has no profits. Facebook, even by the time it went public, it still was making no money. If you're a smart investor, it's based on profits, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But I thought, how would I have known Facebook or Google? If you just looked at adoption rate and usage and the value delivered to users, then you would have invested in it before it was making profits. So with Maker, this is the biggest, fastest growing dApp on Ethereum, which is the biggest and fastest growing decentralized platform. Maybe you say Bitcoin is bigger, but whatever it is. Bottom line is, this is a leader. So I don't know if it's going to work in the end. And I may not believe in everything and think everything's a great idea, but at the same time, you have to respect the leaders. And if you want to be in the game here, you want to be a crypto asset investor, you got to know who the leaders are and bet on them a little. Maybe not every single one or whatever, but, so you can't ignore Maker here, and you can't just count them out because I don't get it. I've never seen an organization run well where it's, by voting. But then again, maybe they will. I don't know. Or maybe it won't work, and they'll change it in a year before, there's a problem, right? And then it's like, and then you get in and it's too late. So, okay. Sorry if I talked too long on on Maker. Another point on Ethereum is corporations. Fortune 500 corporations are jumping on. Okay, I've got 3 of this link. Where was that? We talked about that. Shoot, I got a link here. Let me pull this up. So much going on. Oh, this one here. Let's see. Blockchain. This is just bonds, actual bonds issued on Ethereum, and they compare it here to, this is DeFi, which is not even $1 billion, right? We looked at this at now under 381 million locked up, but oh my God, where's that link I just had? Now I lost it. No, God, I just put this link up, right? I don't know where it is now. Let's do it again. So that's the DeFi, and this is just bonds issued on Ethereum. A few of these, so this is on the public blockchain, this Austria's government, and there was just this one was in the news. They issued one, and they're like, it's a pilot. This is small business, but it's being listed on Ethereum. And even JP Morgan and some of these the World Bank on a private Ethereum blockchain. JP Morgan is on a private Ethereum type. They take a copy of Ethereum and then make their own private version of it, which, you say, well, they're not using Ethereum, but, it's sort of a confirmation that, well, Ethereum must be decent if that's their starting point for copying, right? They're not copying Bitcoin code or any other one. And isn't it so they have their own internal private system. Maybe it's easy in the future to link to the public and to trade with the public Ethereum, which is sort of they're already related to or similar structure to. So these private Ethereum chains also, I think, is good news. And there's so much going on with corporations using Ethereum, I can't even begin to count and keep track of it. So I can't show it to you here. Another thing on Kyber, I tweeted about this, and someone was like, oh, I can't wait to see your video. So let's talk a little bit about Kyber. Kyber's interesting. And again, this is another on Ethereum program. Here they are here. you know, almost up to 1 million locked up. But here's the thing I thought was interesting. There was this ecosystem report here. This is on their blog. And if you just look at what they're doing, so I got trouble understanding how these things work. Kyber and Uniswap. It's very hard for me to just visualize how it all works. But again, I just pay attention to growth rates, right? And keep in mind too, let me just say one other thing. I pay attention to growth rate. One thing I used to say last year, it was so much easier a year ago because I would just say, well, hasn't launched yet? Hasn't launched. I don't invest in things until they've launched. Now so much shit is launched. So now it comes into the more difficult question. What's the adoption rate? How's it going? The other thing I always say is it decentralized? I like decentralized, but some of these things built on top of the blockchain may not be totally decentralized. But that's okay. Like, the whole world doesn't have to be decentralized. I like that the base layer, Ethereum or Bitcoin, is totally decentralized. I think that's extremely important. But what gets built on top of it may or may not be. Maybe I'd prefer it if the winners are decentralized. But at the same time, as an investor, I just want to be picking the winners, right? So what matters is growth. And the reality is, if it was 15 years ago, I would love to invest in Google or Amazon. I'm sure most of you would as well. Well, those weren't decentralized, right? So, not everything on the planet is decentralized. Anyways, so Kyber, all of these, so they are a trade. They provide liquidity to all these different things: wallets, financial products, gaming, and so it's been growing quickly. And then I looked at who are they working with. So first I heard with Uniswap, which is another one. Should we go off topic and talk about Uniswap? I'll get to that in a second. But Uniswap is one of these big DeFi. That's up here. They just got passed by Dharma, but they're at 9 million. And I remember hearing about how a Uniswap, it's only launched months ago. It's already, 9 million locked up. How did they get so big? And they were talking about it, and they were like, well, when Kyber came on, that was a lot. And I was like, Kyber, and I keep hearing about Kyber. And I remember Kyber, during the beginning of the bubble, and people were like, oh, I want to, why don't you invest in Kyber? And I remember saying, yeah, you're all a bunch of idiots, right? Because, why would you invest in this thing? It's like some young kids with no track record. This thing isn't even launching for a while. You're out of your minds. And, it wasn't a bad thing to say because whatever the price was, it was definitely higher than it is now. Now a year later, so now it's been launched for a year. It's growing fast. I keep hearing good things about it from people I respect. So now I like it, right? I mean, when I say I like it, this is a small thing, growing fast, barely can understand it. I wouldn't put much money, and but it's a little bit, I'll get to why in a second again. But, in other words, people say, oh, you're wrong, because here's the video when you said don't invest in Kyber. Okay, but that was back here, maybe the price was here. So I was right? I might have been, said Kyber's no good. Now I say it's good, but price matters, time matters. Back to Kyber. So they're big with and I don't even see it on this Uniswap. Well, maybe that's just there's more stuff coming. Engine, which is this wallet apparently that is going to be built into the Samsung's new phone. I don't know much about this, and some of these things are like fake news, like do you buy the phone and the wallet's right there all installed, or is it, I've seen these fake news things. It's like, oh, if you own a Samsung and then you go to this one thing and you download this and you turn on that and you pay money for this, then you can get the wallet. Well, okay, great. No one's going to do it. But so I don't know how big of a deal it is, but they're getting their liquidity from Kyber, or it's built in. Trust Wallet, which is the one bought by Binance. We'll talk about Binance also growing like crazy. Built in. My Ether Wallet. A lot of the leaders in the space tapped into Kyber. So I'm like, so they're in the middle of all this. And if you look at top 5 wallets combined ether volume. Whatever it is, this is growth. This is nice growth. What is this? Let's look for, and then there's more. Okay, I don't know. This easy. They're talking all these things here. What is this? Combined Instadap and eSwap ETH volume through Kyber. We're seeing some nice numbers here. Granted, this is their blog. There could be contrarian views to this, but these are just numbers. Here's the Uniswap trading volume. I mean, they're sort of connected to all the leaders. I'm like, that's a good place to be. I like that. And the thing, like I showed that price is it's down. So that's Kyber. The problem, I could never put in too much because a lot of this stuff, I said this before. I made a video talking about my advantage. I had a great advantage a year ago. Like I knew, with my experience, and there weren't many people following what's going on, and I just felt like I knew more than everybody. Now there's so much going on, and some of this stuff is getting out of my, to understand Kyber and how it works. Because now it used to just be, will it launch? Is it legitimate? And does it have and then if it's launched and it's legit, if it's decentralized, is it growing? That was it. Now it's like, okay, there's so many things launched and growing fast. Well, which ones are the best? That's a lot harder to figure out. And now we also there's teams of researchers out there studying this shit. Not to mention the trading aspect and the movements of money, and then how these things work. Tough game. In a year or so, I hope I, start moving this to professional managers, because I think it's going to get away from me. We'll see. But so far, I got to say, I looked at my numbers. I beat Bitcoin on the way down. I've been beating the market, the crypto market, so I'm okay. Once I start losing though, I gotta quit this job. Okay, I think, okay, so Uniswap, I've got one chart I can show you here, and where is that? Hello, I know it's around here somewhere. What happened? Oh, you know what? It wasn't updating. So now I don't even have a good chart for Uniswap and how much it's growing. But here's the other thing. So I have Stellar's next on my list, but I'm just going to mention this about Binance. One risk to Binance are the decentralized exchanges. Something like Uniswap, which is just a smart contract algorithm, which apparently incentivizes people to suck up volume and bring it into Uniswap. No fees, that's totally decentralized, not run by anyone, not taking any fees, sucking up volume. That, and there's other things like it. How many of those things just grow like wildfire and overtake Binance in the long run? But let's get to Binance in a minute. I did want to get to Stellar because that is a bigger position, and I've talked about it a lot. Here's the big deal with Stellar, and I think we have some good news here. Oh shoot, let's see if we can get this to load again. Hello. So, Stellar, a few months ago, expanded their WorldWire project with IBM. And, there's a lot going on with Stellar. I'll mention this WireX thing. There's a lot of things happening, but, IBM has, either controls or is working closely with almost every bank in the world. IBM trying to upgrade banks to Stellar, that's huge. So, looking at this chart here, okay, so when the last time, I remember this, in October here, okay, they were doing, this is October 2017. They did about 40,000 transactions in a month. It's when they announced they're working with IBM. Or no, that was the launch of, so they announced they're working with IBM over here. You can't even see, right, how many transactions. And then look at how much it jumped. Then they launched WorldWire or whatever it's called. And look at the jump. It went from whatever this is, like, 40, 50,000 to like 800,000 transactions per day. Now they announced again right here, right? And so are we going to see another 10x jump in transactions per day? Then we will see the price probably go up 10x again. Maybe it doesn't go. I mean, that's to watch. You want to watch this. Now you look at this. Oh, well, it's flat. No, they just announced here. And already we're only on the, we're on the 26th. This thing might get, I was looking at the run rate a few days ago. It looks like it might get up to 2 million. So already we're definitely seeing growth here. Remember this one, the month is not over. So I don't know. What if that gets up to 2? Also, notice that they make the announcement and it grows like month after month. It grows for several months. So are we going to go from 800,000 transactions a day to 8 million transactions a day? Are these numbers eventually going to look like this, so small that you can't even see them? That's what we want to see. The announcement was just made. We're seeing the growth. IBM WorldWire expanding to I don't know how many countries. And then, there's this. This is what you want to watch. But if you see these transactions keep growing exponentially, starting, with this month, and you see another month or two, and the price is not keeping up with it, that's when you want to buy more. Or if you don't have any, I think we're in a good position here. IBM sort of reaffirmed their commitment, and we're seeing transactions grow. You want to take a bet, and we're sort of at lows with Stellar. It's not a horrible time to get in. I'm already in. I'm not buying more. It's not that crazy for me. But and then there was this news here. WireX. They don't look huge to me. I didn't know who they are. There's some payment. But they do 2 billion in transactions. Just a small little company here. Has 2 billion volume of 2 billion, 1.8 million users, and where they are launching, I think it was like launching 42 stable, fiat currency pegged coins on Stellar. So in other words, Stellar's thing is doing these transactions for international trade. And, people, you can use lumens as the bridge currency, but at the end of the day, if someone in Mexico wants to trade with someone in Brazil, the Brazilian wants the Brazilian real at some point, and the Mexican wants peso. So you need a peso peg token and a Brazilian peg token. So this WireX is focusing on getting peg tokens for, I think it was 40 something currencies. I'm sort of going from memory. This is just WireX. Let me just see if I can find WireX news. To launch 26 stable coins. I hate this term, stable coins. They're fiat coins. And what if you launch a stable coin linked to the Argentinian peso? Is that a stable coin? Anyways, and so also, the Stellar's work here with IBM, this is huge, and it's similar to what I think XRP is trying to do. How can XRP compete with this? I mean, it's just, I don't know of anything real happening at XRP. Now, maybe I'm going to get deluged with all these, we have a partnership. And there are transactions. I want to stick with my thing, which is I don't think XRP is a scam. And in general, everybody says everything's a scam. Everything's a scam. There's a difference between it's not going to work, a bad idea, and a scam. Right? I mean, people can try things and fail. Doesn't mean they're fraudulent. And I think XRP is in that camp. I just don't think it's going to work. I think they're going to be beaten by XRP, Ethereum, and others. Sorry, Stellar, Ethereum, whatever. I don't think they're going to win. I don't think it's a scam. I just don't see it. I don't know why all these XRP army people are so insanely emotional about XRP. I find that very strange. And, Swift maybe is their other competitor. I don't see how they compete. I think Stellar's in a great position here. Okay, let's get to Binance. Boy, oh boy. I mean, look at this price action, okay? This is the all-time high. This was the market top, right? Do you know any coins that have regained the market top? In other words, Bitcoin hit whatever, 20,000? We're nowhere near that. Ethereum hit 1,400? We're nowhere near that. Any other coin? Nowhere near the all-time high. Binance? We're back, baby. It passed it for a minute. But look at this. Since December, and it's hard to get into this thing when it's going up so fast. I mean, $6, right? And now it's at 24. This is $6 in beginning of February. And now a few months later at 20 in the 20s. Unbelievable, and it's hard to get in. I am blessed that I actually I wish that, it'd be great if I put more into this thing. I wouldn't put a ton into it either. This is not, it's not Ethereum, it's not Bitcoin, it's not decentralized. So Binance is an exchange, and they're trying to create a decentralized exchange. I'll get to that in a minute. But at the point right now, Binance is a centralized company run by CZ. I think you can look at it like it's a security, but you don't have ownership. It's a security in that we are counting on CZ, the CEO, and whoever, they're working with, to make this thing work. That's sort of the definition of a security. But I mean, CZ's a winner. This guy's been killing it for a while. I love betting on winners who are just fucking killing it in all directions. And so if you invest in Binance, in the token, you're sort of investing in this. It's not a decentralized network. Now, they're trying to go in that direction. And by having a token, it sort of depends that they actually do become decentralized in the future. I mean, there's two aspects to a token having value, is that they create use cases, they create reasons for people to hold it. They have staking on a decentralized exchange. If it's not decentralized, then why would you be on the staking? Anyways, but if it becomes decentralized, the token profits in that, maybe even more than the security. If it doesn't, at least for now, CZ, the CEO, wants the token to do well, right? They're doing things nonstop to make it do well. If it's going to have problems, I don't think those problems are today. Now, that being said, I mean, the thing has moved up price this much. With no problems, it could easily fall in price by 50%, just because of the way markets work. But, I mean, I wouldn't sell yet. I wouldn't sell this thing because of the bull market starting. This thing, moonshot. But when do you buy? I mean, it's pretty, it's just terrifying. I would buy tiny bits when it's like, flat for a minute. But now we've had so many announcements, and now they launched this decentralized exchange. Maybe now we have a break, because what other rabbit can they pull out of their hat? I don't know, but maybe the pricing takes a break and you have a chance to get in later. I don't know. But anyways, I love it. In the medium term, I can't see the long term on this. Like, I think of like Ethereum and Bitcoin as lasting for a long, long time. Binance, who knows how long. But right now, they're certainly lasting, and they're a leader. A couple other things. They have a charity system. One of the use cases. I just wanted to mention this. By the way, I had this guy comment on my video about Binance, and I was gonna have him on the show, but he sent me about 40 emails and started talking about global Zionist domination and 666. Binance had profits of 66%, and somehow he linked that to 666, which proves that they're communicating with the global Zionist. I was like, dude, that just doesn't fit into my show. Could be entertaining and whatever, but not for me. Anyways, but he was pointing out, the charity, it's a fucking scam and all this. Listen, first of all, most of these charities I don't like, because you give money to a charity and it's like 60% goes to marketing and administration is another 20%, and then they give some to people, and who knows. With with cryptocurrency, with this Binance program, you can see the money trail. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be a perfect charity. Charity's hard. It's hard to do right. They're trying. They're really sending money down. It's real. And there's videos on YouTube. It's a scam and all this. Listen, I'm sure you can find things wrong and things that haven't worked. Or they mentioned Justin's son. I saw this in this one video. He donated the charity, but where's the money? He didn't donate. Justin's son. Now, I think he's actually a scammer. Okay. If he promised to give money to the charity and then didn't give it, wouldn't surprise me. But that's not a criticism against Binance's charity. Now, there is one criticism against CZ in that he does allow himself to associate with sort of scummy people like Justin Sun of Tron. He's sort of like, we just have an open platform, anybody can come on, and he loves anything with volume. Tron has volume, Justin Sun, people who don't think he's a fraud just think he's good at marketing. I'm not sure, sometimes there's a very fine line between good marketing and fraud. But anyways, he associates with some of the lower trusted types in this space. And that, I don't like that. But I think CZ is okay. I just think he comes from a place where that's where everybody was. But he's a little different, and he was educated in America, and he's like, I'm not going to do that, but I have an open platform. So, I think that this charity, I like it. I mean, I don't know. I'm not an expert on it, but it looks okay to me. Now, the decentralized exchange. Okay, I don't have any more good links for you on this, but the Binance decentralized exchange. So one criticism people have is that it's not decentralized, right? I mean, yeah, it's not. First of all, I don't even like that term. I hate the term stablecoins because it doesn't really describe what it is. And decentralized exchange, whatever, it's a non-custodial exchange, meaning when you trade, they're not holding your tokens. You're holding them in your own wallet. And so they never take hold of your tokens. But that only makes sense if it's distributed on enough computers that aren't controlled by Binance, and that's decentralized, which it's not now. But their plan is to make sure it's working and then decentralize it. And maybe it won't work. Maybe no volume will go to this decentralized exchange. Maybe, they think it's going to be 10 times as many tokens are able to list on the decentralized exchange because it's more open and easy. Maybe that won't happen. I don't know. Maybe that exchange doesn't take off. And if it doesn't, that could slow down the price growth. They have a lot more going on, and their centralized exchange is still great. So I don't know that kills the company, but maybe that doesn't happen. Or maybe it does, and then they say, okay, now let's get this thing really decentralized. And maybe that doesn't work for some reason. But I wouldn't call them out yet. I would, CZ, this guy, they execute at Binance quickly. They do a great job constantly. I would not bet against them yet. So this thing just launched. We'll see how it does. I would follow the metrics on the decentralized exchange. Volume, number of tokens listed, whatever. How's it going? If you hear stories that this thing's blowing up, then we know this thing's going to keep running. Then there's been reports that Binance is trying to get tokens to leave ERC20 on Ethereum and come to Binance. And some might. But it's Binance, it's like Stellar too. Stellar, you can do ICO. You can create on so many platforms now. You can easily create a token and send it around. And, Ethereum is one of the best because you are integrated within the whole system, right? When MakerDao has multi-collateral, you'll have a token. It'll be easy to become collateral on Maker. You can borrow and lend on these platforms. If you're in your ERC20 token, you're part of this whole system. When you go off on another platform, maybe you can issue your token, and the token works and it's fast and all this, but you don't have that integration. Now, on the other hand, Binance has a lot going on, and if all you're doing is creating a token and you want trade volume, I don't know, maybe Binance is not a bad option. But I don't think that there's some threat to Ethereum here, by any means. Oh no, here it goes. My phone's gonna ring for. Yeah, I got it. Okay. And then another thing was that Bitcoin SV. Craig Wright, who is a fraud. Binance delisted Bitcoin SV, which was great. I mean, no one should have listed it in the first place. Craig Wright claims to be Satoshi. He's not. He's a fraud. He's a moron. And I hope everybody delists him. Okay, so I think that's it for Binance. Let's talk about gaming for a minute. I think one thing that's interesting is that EOS is having a big announcement in June about gaming. Geez, I don't have a good screen to show you here, except I do like this. Gods Unchained. Actually, oh, I actually bought a pack of friggin' cards because this is one of the first games of this type. You check out Gods Unchained, and one of the rare cards already sold for $60,000, and the thing hasn't even launched yet. This is on Loom on Ethereum. I'm not saying to invest in it, but if you play games, so here's the problem with me in gaming. So the reason I'm talking about gaming is it is going to be huge on the blockchain, on these different platforms. I like these videos. So it's going to be big, but for me, I'm not a gambler. I'm not a gamer. And talk about a lot going on. I barely can keep up with DeFi, decentralized finance, which is, I think, going to be even bigger than gambling. So I'm picking my battles. I'm trying to keep up with this shit. I'm not trying to keep up with gaming. But if you play games, what I would do if you play games, it's probably even more fun than trying to understand this shit, is actually go and play the game. So EOS, anyways, is coming out with an announcement in June. I don't know what it is, but they're talking like it's going to be a big deal. We'll see. They could have something going on with gaming that's big, or they could be just talking shit. Just Tron has gambling, and they got problems with Tron Japan. Who the heck keeps calling me? Tron. So Japan said no more gambling in Japan, and and then I heard that a big percentage of Tron's volume was this gambling going on in Japan. And it's funny, how decentralized are you if you can shut down what's happening in one country, right? So whatever. So there's Tron, and then there's Loom, and there's so much more going on. There's others I don't even, Wax, Digital Exchange. That Wax is invested by Brock Pierce. I got a feeling they're going to be involved in the EOS announcement. We'll see what it is. But also, what's it called? Opskins, which is another huge game trading thing. Opskins is involved in the Gods Unchained game. But Opskins is also involved with Wax. So, who knows? But if you're into gambling and gaming, this might be a fun thing to research because there's going to be tons of growth, tons happening. So let's talk about the bottom. The market is the bottom in? You know what? I think so. So there's a guy, Travis Kling. I talked about him. I tweeted him his video. He had Travis Kling runs a fund. This guy understands sort of market movements. I listened to him. I remember when he said the bottom is not in when we were at 6,000. But then he had, I know what I was looking for. My video. Travis, I put up some, this here. Yeah, so.
God bless those nerds. Closets of a few computers.
No, this
But broadly speaking, Jay Powell put the bottom in for this crypto market on January 3rd.
Anyway, listen, I took a couple clips. But I would follow Travis Kling. He's interesting. and he did a, this is not the right, I put the wrong friggin' link on my tweet. That's great. Anyways, Travis Kling, I'm sure you can find him, just gave a report, like an hour video talking about the market. Very interesting stuff. Anyways, here I'm going to summarize this story. Oh, with it keeps we're going down today. Anyways, this is the way he sees it. Okay, so we had the low here, and notice everything hit the low at the same time. Stock market and oil and all this stuff. And then the Fed capitulated and said, don't worry about it. We're going to print. We're back to printing. The market turned around. That was around here that the Fed capitulated. And then what Travis talks about is what he calls the risky whales. These people who are sort of market manipulator traders. They look for the, and well, first they saw there is, institutions are coming in. Bitcoin is in accumulation mode. They see the flows going to Bitcoin, and if Bitcoin has hit bottom, then it's safer to start playing with all the shit coins. So they started with Litecoin, okay? Now, and pumped Litecoin up high, and then pumped all these other coins, and then that set up for a real, move up by Bitcoin here on April. And as Travis Kling says, this put the nail in the coffin as far as the market being bottomed. So the bottom is here at 3,200. Here we're at 5. We're panicking today because we're down. But look at how much we've gone up. Does it hold 5,000? Saying the bottom is in doesn't mean we're going straight up. It just means it's not going to go below 32. So, if it comes all the way back down to 4,100, well, we still haven't broken the bottom, but that's a painful fall, right? So, and sort of what Travis says too is we're either in a range from 4 to 6 here for a while, or if this thing breaks through 6 or 6,200 and holds, then, he talks about reflexivity, which is that because these markets are built a lot on momentum and perception, there's not a lot of great tools like price to earnings ratio and all these things. And so prices going up increases confidence and makes prices go up more, and it starts playing on itself. And the same happens in the reverse. And it seems that we've changed that momentum and we're now rolling up. And so, in other words, if the price goes over 6, it's likely that it starts going up even faster. The higher it goes, the more it goes up until it reaches its insane level and we crash again. So that's his take on the bottom. Now, another point is one of the things a lot of people still talk about like it's going to happen, that the shit coins are all going to die and then finally Bitcoin will be the only coin. And the reality is, and I made videos during the bull market, this one's going to 0 and that one's going to 0. And well, listen, nothing's at 0 yet, right? I mean, Bitcoin Cash, one of my favorites to go to 0, has declined probably, 50% more than Bitcoin, although we can look at it here. Over the past year, compared to Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash fell 70%. So Bitcoin, how much did it fall? Bitcoin Cash fell, significantly more. Let's say from 0.15 to 0.05. So it fell 70% more than Bitcoin. So that makes me feel okay about saying this thing sucks, get out of it. But I also said it's going to 0 in the long run. We're still far from 0, $258, right? So the point is, you do better if you're in good coins and not in shit coins. But I gotta say, shit coins, they're not going away. At least not right now. And if we start another bull market, they're definitely not going to 0 until, But I think what happens to most shit coins is you forget about them. So this show, let me get this link. I remember, so there was a company, 10X. I don't know, anyone remember that when I was doing this? Well, I don't know how long I've been doing this show, but relatively early in the show, 10X, and they're going to come out with a debit card and all this shit. And it was like, oh, this is the next big. And like, its price was, let's just look at its, this is all time. Okay, so this was, their ICO, and then it boomed again, and then, it's exciting. Everybody's talking about it. And there was a minute where I thought, this is interesting for some reasons. And then I said, forget it, get out of it. And then, meanwhile, so now where are we? It's down here. Even as the market's rallied, it actually has come up like everything else, but still, look at where it is. But the point I'm getting at, no one talks about it. Who even remembers 10x? And if you're somewhat new, you certainly don't know about 10x. And even if you've been around, you probably forgot about it. That's what happens. And so this thing trends to zero for a long, long time. Maybe it never even gets to zero, but it leaves our consciousness and becomes so small and irrelevant. That's what happens in the long run. I don't think we're going to see any things plummet to zero because we've got some real... Bitcoin Cash, I think, is a great example of something that's just stupid, right? And look at the market cap of $4.5 billion. 10 years from now, its market cap will probably be 200 million, but it's still 200 million. And it is not zero. That's sort of what I'm feeling like, is that Neo is like so stupid, but it's still there. It's gone down. Let's see how it has done. Neo, I didn't even say was going to go to zero, but I do hate it because it's just sort of a scam coin. I do think Neo are scammers. Actually, yeah, I shouldn't even say for them scammers. They're just people who want to raise money, right? They just want to take money from people and they don't really care if what you give them money for is actually any good. I guess that is scam, right? Cardano. This is an example of not a scam. It's just, I think it's not going to work. Charles Hoskinson, okay, smart guy, whatever. But I just think he has a bad business plan. I think he's going to lose. This is when I said we'll go to zero. But, they still haven't launched decentralized. When is it going to launch decentralized? If it ever does, and this is how it's done against Bitcoin, so it's done worse. But then again, it hasn't everything. Whatever. The point is, I don't know that anything's going to zero anytime soon. But I will make more videos about how tokens will when we're in the boom. Now it's like people are like, oh, you keep saying. I did say if I was hoping that 6,000 was the bottom. Now I'm hoping this is the bottom. I'm optimistic. Oh my God, all this stuff is great. And everybody's negative. But remember during the boom, everybody was like, oh, people would want to throw knives at me because I said, I don't know about this thing. This is not good and that's not good. I'm not just trying to be a contrarian. I'm trying to point out things that you don't see everywhere that are important. And during the bull, you couldn't find bad news. During the bear, you can't find good news. So, Anyways, now back to Litecoin, which pumped. Let's look at the Litecoin action here. Or let's look at 3 months. So this was the one when Bitcoin came, but there was this one here from, let's go back 6 months because I feel like, yeah, I guess there was this 32 to 46 in a few days. I think that was that was a big quick jump. And, and that was what Travis Klink says, and seems to make sense from the numbers I've looked at. It's just market manipulation. There was some shorts, there was not much supply, and then it's not a huge coin, and some manipulators got in there and ran the thing up. And then all the idiots say, oh, I love Litecoin because the price goes up. Litecoin is a dead project. Okay? It's nothing. It's stupid. Don't own it. Why do I say that? Well, first of all, Litecoin had 43 developers, I think it was a couple years ago. Now they have 3. Contributions on GitHub or whatever. It's like there's nothing being uploaded. And Charlie Lee, now Charlie Lee, I don't think he's a scammer. You can listen to him on this Laura Shin's Unchained podcast. By the way, she's great. A lot of good shows here. Interview with CZ. I would listen to her. Anyways, he talks for an hour, and it's like, so my impression of this guy is smart guy from Google. And you know what, 5 years ago, when he launched sort of a copy of Bitcoin, but it's a little faster and cheaper and this and that, and there was a need for that. And there was a need when Bitcoin was like, fees were at $50, people went to Litecoin. Like, there was a need for it. or it had some, reason to have some value. But now there's no reason. There's a million stupid coins with no value. If you really like a stupid coin that's just around, go buy Dogecoin. At least it was created as a joke to be that, just a stupid coin that exists. And it still exists and goes up during pumps. So own Dogecoin. At least they admit to being a joke. Litecoin and Charlie Lee, so my impression, he's a smart guy. He created this thing, and I think he's just a guy who's like, oh, this could work. This could have value, and I could make some money. And I don't think he's thinking, how am I going to change the world and save the world and do this? He's just like, oh, there's an opportunity. And he did it. And then he saw the price was going up, and then in whatever it was, December 2017, for 1 week, he went on every friggin' TV show. And then he sold all of his coins. Is he a scammer? No, he's just like, oh, I don't know. It's up a lot. And then he's like, I don't want to be accused of pumping, so I'll just sell it all now that I just pumped it, right? And it's like, in his head, I'm sure he thinks it's all fine, but it's just, it's a little sort of passive aggressive shady. And now he's a do-gooder because he's out promoting Litecoin and saying he's like, oh, the values of Litecoin. And he doesn't own any, so he's just doing it out of the goodness of his heart. I'll tell you what, if you give me a few $100 million, I will go out and talk about how nice something is, right? I mean, it's like, yeah, good for him. He's saying Litecoin is nice. He made, I don't know how many hundreds of millions of dollars, and now he goes around talking about how he supports it, even though he doesn't have a stake in it because he's so noble. Please. I don't buy it. And his answers, if you listen to this Laura Shin interview, with everything he said, I'm like, call him bullshit. So meanwhile, people talk about Charlie Lee, oh, he's great, and CZ from Binance, he's a scammer. I'd switch that up. I trust CZ from Binance. I do not trust Charlie Lee. I don't hate him. I get it. But it's like enough already. Like I don't like it. And even in this interview too, he was like, oh no, I didn't sell it at the exact top. It was like, in fact, let's look at that chart because I didn't look at the chart since he said it, but let's just look here. Oh shit, we need to go further back. Let's go to coin market cap. What, an hour 20? Holy crap, and I got more to do. But, what time is it? Holy shit, wait, what time is my meeting? Oh no. Maybe I'll pause this and continue. All right, so let's get to the portfolio recommendation. I don't even remember what I put last time, but it's sort of like, I feel like, especially if the bull's running, the other, other tokens, smaller ones that are good, will outpace Bitcoin on the way up. Maybe not by a ton. And also I said the ones that are good, but the ones that suck may also do just as good. When the thing goes up, everything goes up for a while. Especially ones where the jury's out. It's sort of like the ones it hasn't launched and everyone's optimistic. So everyone's optimistic sometimes until it launches or until it's proven bad. And these things can take a long time to play out. So, but anyways, I feel like, especially if the bull is running, reducing the Bitcoin percentage. Remember, I was at something like 60 at the, 6 months ago, 60%. Now I'm trending to 40, increasing the Ethereum up to 35. One good run and your 30 becomes 35, with prices going up fast or something. XLM, I'm at 10%, but that's, if I showed you those transactions per day thing, if that keeps moving up, I could feel like more confident. I mean, IBM, and it's an old token, and you're seeing rapid growth. That starts to feel really safe. Then you got all these crazy risky ones that who the hell knows. Binance and Maker, I feel like you can go up to 5%. I used to say 1% for everything else. Now, these two, but Maker, like I said, I don't know that it can't go to 0. So that's pretty risky for 5%. Binance, I don't think it's going to 0, but it's had such a run, it could all of a sudden just poop out and then not underperform. So I would be careful. Not to mention there's other risks. I don't know about going to zero, but if regulators start cracking down on something with them. But then again, they're working now. They're approved and working in Singapore. I forgot to mention that. On ramp in Singapore. That establishes them firmly. So another thing about Binance I forgot to mention as well. You know, people say, oh, they're running from regulators, right? China banned it, so they left China. Then Japan was being a pain in the ass, they left Japan. They found a place. You know, you could say they're running from regulators, or you could say they're looking for a place where they can have clear regulations and they know that what they're doing is legal. And they have found several countries, including Singapore, where they're legal. So are they, oh, they're bad, they're running from regulators? I don't think so. I think they're smart and they're running to places where they can have clarity and know they're operating legally. Then these are the ones where you can take a flyer and buy a teeny bit, 1% or whatever. There's Kyber, I mentioned there's Loom. Just it's part of the gaming thing. It's sort of EOS on top of Ethereum. Maybe something happens. Storage. It's a real project run by some smart people. If it does well, the token probably does well, but I don't know. And I don't know that I would buy it if I didn't already have it. I loved it, so I bought a little bit a long time ago and just hodling it. There's live here. I can barely understand it. Looks interesting. I haven't actually got any, but I don't know. It looks for real, and I thought it was interesting, but it's not even I don't know. I can't remember that. It's not totally launched. I can't remember, but that's what I would look at if you're looking for others, do some gambling. This is video. I mean gambling in that. Just picking something early and small. By the way, Kyber, the other reason I like it, I mean, the market cap is 50 million, right? So if this thing becomes one of the important parts of our ecosystem, 50 million, it could easily be 5 billion, right? So, and when I say easily, in the next boom, that's one of the top coins, that's, or even now, if it's a top coin, would be 5 billion, but in the next boom, so that's what's that? 100x grow, so there's a lot of potential for these things. That's why if you buy a tiny bit, you could turn it into a big amount or you lose it. And OMG is one of those where I, bought a little bit and then it's just, I want to get rid of it. I put in, I'm waiting for another pump, but I have no faith that OMG will do anything. Now, maybe they will, like any of these things, who knows, in 5 years from now. But I just don't. If they have a plan that makes any sense, I have no idea what it is. Other than, they're trying to build some decentralized exchange. There's already like hundreds of decentralized exchanges. Most of them have no volume. OMG can't even launch theirs. And if they did, I never heard them say anything to me that makes me think they're going to have volume. I don't get it. I'm stuck. This is one that I would like to dump. Get out of it. But I'm hoping we get another pump. Or maybe some good news comes out, it goes up, and then I would sell. But I'm sort of over it. And I'm out of the money. This is one that didn't go well. I do pretty good. I got a good track record, I like to say. But OMG, I'm in it for like $7 a share, right? And so it's at 2 per token. So that's not a good one. Okay, next I wanted to mention Yang Gang. Now, I mean, this guy, he's got, where do I begin? First of all, as far as crypto is concerned, you can go here and read. He's got so many policies. His policy, like this guy with everything, it's like he's not a moron. I've never seen a politician where they're actually, and when I say a moron, a lot of them are morons, right? I just think they're complete idiots. They're just wrong about everything, right? And then some of them, they're nice enough, but they're not insightful. This Yang, he's like one of the people who I look at as, this guy's smart. He gets me to think differently. Look at his policies. He's got, oops, I think is this it? Wait a second. I clicked on the wrong. Policies. You go to most politicians' websites, it's these nice platitudes. Oh, we want to make the world a better place. Like, he's got specific platforms. Look at all these platforms. And almost every one of them, maybe you won't agree with everyone, but they're all well thought out. Most of them you're like, okay, that's not a bad thing. one concern is this is government doing too much. Maybe they're going to overextend. But, I mean, look at this. And most of the times it makes sense. But his main one, which I think is great, and I've always thought, so here's the deal with this universal basic income. I've always sort of understood and believed. So what is the economy? We do work in order to create stuff. So that we have stuff. This camera, YouTube, coffee cup. People make these things at companies, right? And that's why we work. So we have stuff. And it's getting easier and easier for computers to do the work to make the stuff. So project that long time forward. I always thought of this as far in the future, but at some point, machines are making all of our stuff, and there's so much stuff that we don't need to do work, and we have all the stuff we need. So then what do people do, right? Because we're spending most of our day working in order to make stuff. If machines are making all the stuff, well, now we have all this stuff. That is the point of all our work all day. We don't need to work. We should be just as happy because now we have all this stuff and we don't have to work for it. But what are we doing now, right? I mean, most people's lives, especially a lot of it in America, I don't know if you live in New York City, work, 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 work. It's all we do. And the jobs are going away. Or what does every politician say? Clinton with the jobs, 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 always with his thumb like this. I don't know why he did. Jobs, jobs. And now he's saying, hey, the jobs, the machines are eating the jobs, and that's not a bad thing. Elizabeth Warren wants to destroy Amazon. I fucking love Amazon. I love shopping at Amazon. I love the fast delivery. I go to Whole Foods every day right near me. I watch on the Fire TV. I love Amazon. I don't want to break up and destroy Amazon. But meanwhile, my business, my e-commerce business, is being eaten by Amazon. We can't grow anymore. And eventually, it's, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years, Amazon owns the whole fucking retail business, at least from my point of view. So I should hate Amazon. They're stealing my business. But I don't, because I get it. And another thing that Yang says that got me thinking is he's like, another thing, he always says this on his speeches. How many of you work in technology? What do? All you do is you work to eliminate jobs. And I was thinking about this in my company. It's just like, well, we can't grow. What can we do? We can automate. What does that do? It reduces jobs. He's like, how do you feel about that? I don't feel good about it. It's not fun. How can we, eliminate 2 more people? And that helps then we make more money. But that's where the economy is going. And he gets it, and he explains it, and he sees it. And this universal basic income is, so what it's saying is, okay, great. Let's not hate Amazon. They're great. But Amazon pays no taxes. So he talks about this value-added tax so that a piece of Amazon's productivity or the value they create is taken and then distributed to all the people. It makes sense. I know it has to happen someday. He's saying it has to happen now. If nothing else, we should be thinking about it. And also, he makes it clear, which, I always, the reason Trump won was everybody lost jobs in the Midwest, but they didn't lose it to immigrants. Stupidness. I've always had this whole obsession with immigrants. Immigrants are not a problem. The problem is they lost their jobs to the machines. And that's how we got to solve this problem. And so I really like him. The other thing is when you say, I'm going to give you $1,000 a month. I like him, right? He's attracted. I'm attracted as someone who thinks deeply and reads. I like him. But he's also getting the lowest common denominator, right? I mean, and there's so many memes and videos. This makes me think he's going to win. Shit like this all over the place.
Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang. Yeah. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020.
There's 56,000 views on this stupid song. Sorry, I talked over the song. 56,000 views on this one. What's this one?
Man, bitch, take me, huh? Gang, gang, we gang, gang, we yangin', we yangin'. We born in it, we certified, we spraying. Yeah, rap niggas don't vibe with me, I'm different.
I don't know. This video cracks me up because these guys, it's funny. They're talking about, Yang also wants to legalize marijuana. I mean, look at these guys. This is the background they choose for their video, right? I mean, look at it. It's so funny. Legalize marijuana, you get $1,000 a month. I don't, listen, this guy may be the wonderful genius. I don't know him. But I'm just saying, in general, there's a lot of people who are not going to geez, where's he getting the $1,000 a month to give me? I'm really skeptical. Most people will say, thank you, I like this, I'm voting for you, right? Look at, oh, I love this. There's like some car in a garage. It's probably not even his car. So.
You disrespect this and you're gonna be missed.
Look at guys fucking smoking pot. We're Yang, it's Yang Gang. Join the Yang Gang and secure your bags, motherfuckers. So in his book, The War on Normal People, I would read that, and at the end of it, and people don't talk about it that much, the end of the book, he talks about how there's a lot with cryptocurrency in Yang. The universal basic income, he talks about how to distribute it. I don't remember exactly what I read in the book, but I feel like he might be putting the U.S. on he can get us closer to adopting and using cryptocurrency. And it's hard. All of this stuff too, whether he can implement any of it. I like the fact that this guy's a leader, Yang, not this guy. And nothing against this gentleman, but I don't know who he is. But Yang, we're talking a Silicon Valley type thing. And that was the one thing I liked when Trump got elected. I was like, you know, if nothing else, at least he got rid of, it was fucking Bush and Clinton. Trump came in, he destroyed Bush, and then he beat Clinton. And that's the end of the fucking Bush-Clinton show. And that's why I don't think Biden can win at all. He's part of that whole fucking old guy politician who just smiles and has money, you know, or raises money. Like, he killed those. And even Yang says the reason he's running, not only because he understands the problems, but he's like, well, if Trump can do it. And so now, and I remember too when Trump got elected, remember Peter Thiel was talking, he was at the Republican convention, and that just was me. It was like, oh my God, there's a Silicon Valley smart person has their foot in the door in Washington. Granted, nothing came of it, but still. And now we're seeing a Silicon Valley guy running. So, you know, I'm all about the Yang Gang. Okay, next, Tesla. Boy, oh boy. You know, I like Tesla. You know, right now, well, if you like it and you haven't bought any, it's down. I mean, you know, it's a good time to buy if you like it. But so the thing about Tesla, what I've always said is not just it's not just the car. To me, it's robots and AI making cars versus union traditional manufacturing plants. And I just think that's a no-brainer. Tesla wins. But now there's another point, which is the auto driving. They have more data. This video, Tesla Autonomy Day, I would watch this other stuff. I feel like autonomous driving only works with AI and shitloads of data. They already have 500,000 cars on the road and the AI machine up and running. The AI, the automatic driving is coming, and you know, people are like, well, how soon and not how soon. Whenever it comes, Tesla's first. They're the only ones with the data. I saw some other thing. Oh, look at, I don't remember what company, you know, some big manufacturing company, traditional car maker. Oh, you know, it's coming soon. They're doing tests in the city. Yeah, they're doing tests, and they're going to do tests and realize that they're nowhere near turning it on. Like, it's just... So I would watch this. I think they're winning in the long run. In the short run, you know, hey, they could run out of cash, have to raise, and the stock could do shit. But I just don't like, people are so negative. Fucking Musk, he's killing it. He's doing a lot for the world here. He's not just doing it to make money. I mean, they want to make money so they can keep going. But he's doing such great things, and there's so many short sellers and people saying he's fucking crazy and he's bad. Please, I own a Tesla. It's the greatest car I ever owned. It's amazing. Give this guy a break. And I'm rooting for him. I also buy the stock, own the stock. And, you know, I wouldn't, you know, he's AI and robots are taking over the world. Yang knows it. You know it and I know it. And Elon Musk understands that shit better than most. He's, you know, one of the robot's friends, right? So I like Tesla. Thank you. Now, on the other hand, some of the things. So I think the auto driving looks like it's coming soon. Their new computer and they're upgrading. And I already love the autonomous driving that I have, but it can do a lot more. And it's coming, and you see the demo in this video. Now, when he says there's going to be robo-taxis working next year, that is silliness. Does he actually even think that's happening? Okay, fine. So he's saying this is going to happen next year and it's not going to happen for, I don't know, 5 years. But stuff is happening. He's delivered on a lot of things. Maybe not always on time, but they're big things and they happen. I wouldn't bet against this guy. Okay, finally, Lambda School. Now, this is not to be confused.
As you know, we have no chapter at Adams College, which is why I've agreed to see you. But I must tell you, gentlemen, you have very little chance of becoming trilanders.
Revenge of the Nerds. Lambda, Lambda, Lambda. I don't know if that is where they got the name, but this Lambda School, let me just see the website. See if it says it succinctly. Bottom line is, the school is free. Instead of paying tuitions, you pay a percentage of your income after you're employed, only if you're making more than $50,000. And I'm hearing great things, like people who had nothing going on getting a job for $100,000. And you're paying after. It's like no risk. And this is a school where the incentive is aligned. The incentive for the school is not to get people to borrow money to join. It's not to get donors, kids and donors in. It's not to just teach a bunch of shit and pretend you're fancy, and then when they're done, whether they get a job or not, they don't care. Those are the incentives of the traditional college. This one, their incentive is to teach you shit and get a job, or they don't make anything. And apparently they're doing a great job. If I was looking for something to do, and a young kid, I would go to this Lambda School. I think this, and I think it can also, you can even do it online. Classes from anywhere. I mean, this is, I love this. So, all right. Hour 40 video. Is that long enough for you? So, that's it. And just an update on, I'm working on my education, teaching kids about money. It looks like I'm going to be able to teach at the Playa Vista Elementary School. 5th graders for a few weeks going to come in there. They haven't given me the exact times yet. Looks like it's happening. And we're going to teach some things and see how my little course materials do. Based on that, I'm going to edit, hopefully teach more, and eventually have some courses for kids to, gain financial literacy. Been spending some time on that. Following my crypto, living the dream, ladies and gentlemen. You can follow me. My Twitter, I don't tweet a lot. Occasionally I share an article, but see who I follow. I only follow a few people, but they're smart, and that's how I keep up with the news and get away from the fake news. Honestly, it's funny too. I follow mostly crypto people, but Yang, nobody ever talks about politics in my feed, but all of a sudden a few people mention Yang, and I look him up, and sure enough, he's good. My Twitter feed keeps me informed only from smart people. So you could follow my Twitter to see that. It's davelevine.com. I also post some stories on Instagram and here on YouTube. A lot of Instagram has a lot of, my kids looking cute and stupid funny stuff. YouTube stories I try to keep to sort of on topic of either crypto or my financial literacy course. And that's it. But comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching. See you soon.